My partner's betrayal has shattered my trust in ways I never thought possible. It's like watching a distant star shine brightly while I flounder in the shadows of my heartache. Little did I know that I would find myself recounting the painful saga of a breakup, something I had hoped to avoid. Over the course of our 2-year relationship, I would never have imagined that the ultimate act of betrayal would come from someone I cherished so deeply. It all started last year during a time when I was engrossed in my studies, working tirelessly to complete my education and set the foundation for a bright future. My mind was occupied with textbooks and endless notes as I prepared diligently for my upcoming exams. This exhausting pursuit of knowledge consumed my every waking moment, leaving me with little opportunity to devote to my partner. I had my sights set on finishing my studies, envisioning a time when we could finally move in together and share the life we had often dreamed of. My partner, a truly compassionate individual, was understanding during this challenging phase of my life. They stood by me like a strong oak in the face of a storm, providing the support I needed. They recognized and accepted the demands of my academic responsibilities, especially during those particularly stressful moments when I felt overwhelmed and anxious. I was acutely aware that, in my pursuit of success, I was not always present in the relationship as I should have been. Despite my flaws and the strain of my commitments, they remained patient with me, nurturing our bond with kindness and love. Our relationship had always been characterized by positivity and joy. From the very day we first met, an easy chemistry developed between us, one that was grounded in mutual respect and a shared understanding of life's chaotic nature. We supported each other's aspirations, celebrated one another's successes, and found comfort in our conversations, often losing track of time while laughing and dreaming together. There were moments when we felt like partners in crime, navigating the unpredictable currents of life hand in hand. However, as the months went on, the strain of my academic endeavors began to take a toll on our connection. I could sense a subtle shift in the dynamics of our relationship, but I attributed it to my preoccupations. I buried my head in coursework while the tremors of doubt crept into the crevices of my mind. Were they truly happy, or was I merely imagining it? I was too wrapped up in my studies to fully parse the emotional nuances at play. It wasn't until the day I discovered the truth that reality hit with the force of a freight train. I was sifting through some paperwork in a particularly distracted state when I stumbled across messages that were never meant for my eyes. There they were, exchanges that revealed the hidden betrayal, a web of deceit woven behind my back. Each word I read pierced through my heart, twisting the knife deeper with every realization of their infidelity. My mind raced as the images of our happiness came crashing down around me, suffocating in a wave of disbelief. To see them appear so carefree, seemingly content, while my world crumbled, was a punch to the gut. I struggled to comprehend how the person who promised to stand by me could engage in such treachery. I confronted them, my heart racing, my voice trembling as I sought answers. "How could you?" I demanded, desperation lacing my words. Their responses were vague and laden with excuses, but I could see the remorse flickering in their eyes. Yet what good were apologies now? The damage was done, and the trust that once tethered us was irreparably severed. In the aftermath of that devastating moment, the bitterness churned in my stomach like a storm. I felt lost, engulfed in a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, sadness, disbelief. I had invested so much in our relationship, and now it felt like a house of cards, collapsing in an instant. I often replayed our time together, searching for signs that I had ignored, grappling with the haunting question: how could I have been so blind? Days turned into weeks, and I found myself stuck in a loop of heartache and sorrow. Friends noticed my absence, my laughter now a faint echo of its former self. I may have appeared to be existing in the world around me, but inside, a battle raged on. I wanted to reach out and express my pain, yet every attempt to articulate my feelings fell flat. It was during one particularly reflective evening that I decided to seek solace in writing. Pen in hand, I poured my heart onto the page, detailing every feeling, every hurt, every shred of disappointment. I wrote about the thrill we once shared, the intimate moments that had come to define us as a couple. I sketched memories of laughter and joy, juxtaposed against the heavy weight of betrayal that now threatened to consume everything we had built. In that process of reflection, amid the melancholy, I stumbled upon a glimmer of hope. Although my partner's choice had been torturous, their betrayal did not define my worth. I began to understand that I was capable of rising from the ashes, of healing and reclaiming my happiness. It would be a painful journey, no doubt, but I could take the reins of my own narrative. With each passing day, I resolved to focus on myself, on rebuilding my life brick by brick. I immersed myself in activities we used to enjoy together, rediscovering passions that had been brushed aside during my studies. I began exercising, writing, and reconnecting with friends, surrounding myself with people who brought out the best in me. I realized that joy could still exist in the absence of that relationship, albeit in a different form. Though the scars of betrayal would remain, I could choose to forge a new path. My partner may have betrayed my trust, but they could never steal my resilience or my capacity to love again. With time, patience, and self-compassion, I would emerge stronger than ever, allowing the key lessons from this experience to shape the person I would become. Last month, everything changed in ways I never expected. It was as though a thick curtain had been drawn between us, obscuring the connection that once felt unbreakable. My partner, once warm and affectionate, began to retreat into an emotional shell. It was a slow withdrawal, almost imperceptible at first, but soon became glaringly evident. They would glance at their phone in the middle of conversations, their face tightening with a mix of irritation and anxiety whenever I approached. I felt a shift in the air, the kind of tension that hangs like an unstable balloon waiting to burst. Initially, I tried to rationalize their behavior. Perhaps I had been too needy, clinging onto our relationship with an intensity that might have become suffocating. Or maybe they simply craved more quality time. Time for themselves, or perhaps with friends they hadn't seen in a while. After I celebrated my graduation this month, I was determined to create moments that mattered, moments that could bring us back to the closeness we once enjoyed. I concocted plans: a weekend getaway, a cozy night filled with our favorite movies, and a dinner at that quaint little restaurant we had talked about for ages. Yet, despite my best efforts, an underlying disconnection persisted. Whenever I sought to reach out physically, through hugs or gentle touches, I was met with a stiffening of their posture, a subtle withdrawal that made my heart sink. It was during one particularly unsettling evening, after return from a day spent trying to rekindle the warmth between us, that I began to feel an insatiable curiosity creeping in, tinged with a sense of dread. I couldn't pinpoint the source of my discomfort, but an intuition tugged at me. Perhaps they were keeping something hidden. Consequently, a dark thought took root in my mind, and I found myself contemplating the unthinkable. Checking their phone. My heart raced as the idea spiraled into a compulsion. As I sat there, my fingers hovering over the screen of their unlocked phone, a chill coursed through my veins. The moment I pressed the messaging app, a wave of anxiety washed over me, a storm of anticipation mixed with fear. It felt like stepping into a forbidden territory, a realm that could either secure my heart back in its rightful place or shatter it into irreparable pieces. The conversations I stumbled upon soon revealed a painful truth. My partner had been engaging in intimate exchanges with multiple individuals. Words of affection, eagerly exchanged like currency in a treacherous game I never even knew I was a part of. In that moment, everything clicked into place. The heated exchanges, the sudden retreat, the darkened expressions during our once happy moments. My chest tightened, and I struggled to breathe as the realization settled over me like a fog of betrayal. I had never felt so exposed, so vulnerable, and the shock of it felt as if the ground had shifted beneath my feet, leaving me teetering on the edge of an abyss. Desperate to salvage what we had, I steeled myself for a conversation I had never anticipated. I reached out to my partner, pouring out my emotions while trying to cloak the anger rising within me. I offered forgiveness, desperately urging them to reconsider. "I know we can work through this," I pleaded, my voice breaking slightly. "We've shared so much joy together. Can't we try to reclaim that?" But as I finished speaking, the look in their eyes was one of defiance mixed with regret. an uncomfortable cocktail that left me feeling cold and rejected. "I can't continue," they replied quietly, as if the weight of their words pressed heavily on their chest. "I've made my choices. I think it's best for both of us to end this." Those words struck me like a physical blow. It felt as if the air had been knocked out of my lungs, leaving me gasping for understanding. I wanted to plead, to bargain, to reminisce about the memories that painted our relationship in hues of happiness. "What about everything we've built together?" I asked, frustration bubbling to the surface. "It just doesn't feel right anymore," they responded, their eyes cast downward as if they couldn't bear to witness the devastation these words were causing. Just like that, the vibrant tapestry of our relationship unraveled before me, thread by thread. Time flowed unevenly in that moment. I felt plunged into a whirlpool of emotions: anger, sadness, disbelief. Each wave pulled me down deeper into an ocean of despair. I couldn't comprehend how someone I had loved so deeply could walk away so easily. I had offered them everything, yet it felt like they hadn't even fought for us. We parted ways that night, but the echoes of that conversation reverberated in the empty chambers of my heart. In the days that followed, I was engulfed in a haze of confusion and longing for what had once been. Each corner of our once shared space felt laden with memories, every item triggering a flash of nostalgia or pain. Gradually, acceptance began to creep in, though it was a slow and tumultuous journey. I found solace in venting to friends who listened patiently as I unraveled my story, sharing not just the heartbreak, but also the laughter and joy from the past that had once radiated between us. They reminded me of my worth, of the love waiting for me beyond this storm, even when I couldn't see it myself. While the wound was fresh and the heartache loud, I knew this chapter was just one of many in my life's unfolding narrative. I slowly began to open myself up to new experiences, realizing that healing required time and patience. I dared to hope that, in time, I would find my way back to joy, where love would once again beckon me from the horizon. They decided to walk away. Right now, we're still managing to keep a friendship afloat, but it's more of a burden than a blessing. Every time we chat, I can't shake off the feeling that our conversations serve only as a facade, a fragile attempt to hold onto something that's already slipping through my fingers like sand. It's painful, more than I ever imagined it could be. I've noticed that love, that spark we once shared, has dimmed to a mere flicker. Our interactions seem to be laced with an air of obligation, rather than the warmth of genuine affection that once wrapped around us like a soft blanket on a cold night. I genuinely long to detach myself from this entanglement. Every dialogue feels like treading water in a vast ocean, and I'm becoming exhausted. The truth is, I don't want to continue engaging with them in this way any longer. But here's the dilemma. How do I navigate the choppy waters of my emotions now? I've leaned on them so heavily. They have been my unwavering pillar of support in times of need. Losing that feels akin to losing an essential piece of my very soul. As I sit with my thoughts, it's become increasingly difficult to focus on anything productive or even muster enough energy to care for myself. Even the simplest tasks, those that used to come naturally to me, now seem daunting. I find myself staring at the walls, and the weight of the silence hangs heavily in the air. It's evident that clinging to this friendship will only drag me deeper into a chasm of despair. My mind races with questions. How does one truly move forward from someone they have loved so profoundly? How does one release the tender bonds that once felt like home but now feel like shackles? It's particularly hard to witness their blossoming happiness while I remain trapped in this cycle of pain and heartache. It's like standing on the sidelines of a vibrant celebration while my heart continues to ache in solitude. I yearn for a way out, yet every time I think about cutting ties, a wave of fear surges through me. What if I regret it? What if letting go means I'm forfeiting the chance to find my way back to the connection we once cherished? In moments of quiet reflection, I find myself replaying our memories, those golden moments filled with laughter and light. It feels like a cruel joke when I think about how vibrant those days were compared to the dullness of the present. I can still hear their laughter, the way their eyes sparkled when we shared secrets under the stars, and how, at that time, the world felt infinitely larger when I was with them. Now, Every recollection is tinged with a bittersweet aftertaste. There are times when I picture reaching out, desperately wanting to bridge the growing divide between us. Yet something holds me back. I know that if I were to initiate that conversation, it would reveal not only my vulnerability but also my fear of losing any remaining connection we still share. And that thought terrifies me. I don't want to burden them with my turmoil. I don't want to appear weak or pitiful. Yet, the truth remains that I'm struggling. Perhaps the most challenging part is coming to terms with the fact that I may need to prioritize my mental well-being over this friendship that once made me feel whole. I start to question whether perhaps I've placed too much of my self-worth in the hands of another person. They provided a sense of stability I now crave, and its absence feels like a gaping hole in my life. Am I strong enough to redefine my identity without them by my side? In my more optimistic moments, I ponder the idea of personal growth through this pain. They say every heartbreak brings a lesson, a stepping stone to something greater. But in this moment, all I can think about is the void left in their absence, the conversations that are now mere shadows of what they once were. I envision a future where I can embrace my solitude, where I can reclaim pieces of myself that I've set aside in favor of our relationship. I realize that healing is neither linear nor simple. It's a tangled web of emotions, with threads of anger, despair, and occasional hope. As days turn into weeks, the hope that perhaps we can mend what feels broken both enthralls and frightens me. I wonder if time will erode the sadness or if it will simply linger, a constant reminder of what was lost. Ultimately, I know that the journey to release this attachment begins with acceptance. I must learn to embrace the fact that love sometimes means letting go, even when it feels impossible. Maybe, just maybe, it's time I allow myself the grace to cry, to grieve, and then to slowly find the strength to rise again. It's time to focus on rediscovering my own joys, reconnecting with passions that were overshadowed, and carving out a new path that leads me away from the pain and towards healing. With each passing day, I hope to find a flicker of peace, a reminder that even in this darkness, I am capable of finding my way back to the light. If my story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more. I'd love to hear your advice on the steps I should take. Keep in touch for future stories.